Hello there, buddy. I'm Mr. GamePie. Welcome to the Robot Master Numerical Run. Today we're starting up Mega Man 7 with Freeze Man. And I have something very special to show you all. We're actually starting with the Protoshield, just like I said we would be back whenever I fought Proto Man in the first episode. This took quite a bit of work to work out because basically you're supposed to only have the Protoshield at a certain point of the game, which you can only reach by getting certain Robot Master weapons. I've sort of cheated the system a little bit because there is... Okay, I guess before I fully explain this, I need to explain that this game has two sets of 4 Robot Masters. After beating the first 4 Robot Masters, you go on to the second set. Now, you get Proto Man's shield within the second set of Robot Masters, so normally you can't get it without fighting at least 4 of them first. Even then, one of the Robot Masters in the game has something you need to get Proto Man's shield, so you'll probably have at least 5 Robot Masters down before getting to him. But I kind of cheated the system a little bit, because there is a code that you can put into this game. This game uses the password system, just like the first 6 in the series. Or, well, I guess the first 6 other than the very first game. And there's a password that you can put in that actually starts you out with all 8 Robot Masters available from the get-go. I put this in, and then what I did is I just sort of did all the prerequisites for getting Proto Man's shield. Anytime I meet the prerequisite of a level, I would just simply exit the level by dying, and continue on from there. As a result, I was able to get Proto Man's shield without actually fighting any Robot Masters. Unfortunately, there's no real way to naturally start the game like this, because any password that you obtain for the game before beating all 4 of the regular Robot Masters that you start out with is invalid, and is not usable for any real purpose. Now, while I'm playing the stage with Proto Man's shield just for stylistic effect, there isn't really any actual use for it in this particular stage, but at the same time, there's not really much of a reason to not have it out all the time. So I may as well just hang around with it. That said, there are a couple issues with the Protoshield, and a couple downsides, actually. One is that you can't actually run while shooting, it seems, or at least there seems to be some sort of delay with reactions. As such, it's not exactly the best thing to just have out at all times. But yeah, here we have Freeze Man. He's the first Robot Master of this game. And he's sort of a character that you want to start out with. On one hand, the thing about Freeze Man is that he's not exactly the easiest of the Robot Masters. In fact, I'd say that he might actually be one of the hardest Robot Masters of the first 4. But each of the other first 4 Robot Masters has a use for a special weapon. Cloud Man stage and Junk Man stage both have special circumstances in their levels that allow you to use his weapon, the Freeze Cracker. And then for the last Robot Master you start out with, Burst Man, the Freeze Cracker is actually one of his weaknesses. The other weakness not being available until you get to the other 4. Now, despite starting out the game with all 8 Robot Masters available, this is only relevant for meeting the Protoshield. The first 4 Robot Masters available in this game are the first 4 numerically, which makes sense given this game's plot, which I probably won't ever actually go over. This also makes things convenient in the fact that I won't actually have to worry about some other mid-stages or the introductory stage or quite a few other things. Now, I'm going to be fighting Freeze Man without the Protoshield out, because like I mentioned earlier, the Protoshield actually messes with your movement some. And I tried fighting Freeze Man in practice with the Protoshield on, and it really messes up my patterns with this guy. It is an issue, so not that I'm doing that well anyway. It also doesn't really help, because he doesn't tend to fire directly at you. A lot of his stuff is vertical related. He'll jump on top of you, he'll jump around, he's got things that come out of the ground, just all sorts of stuff. The only horizontal thing that the Protoshield could really block would be the Freeze Cracker itself. And that isn't exactly hard to avoid, as you can see. If it's going to hit you, it's probably because it'll come out from the back. Whenever it hits the wall, you can see it explode, and that does, in fact, hurt you. You want to jump whenever the ice hits the ground, or well, the ice is over the ground, because if the ice is over the section of the ground that you're standing on while you're on top of it, it will freeze you to the ground, and that's no good because there's no real way to get out of that as far as I'm aware, without him colliding with you in some fashion. He also jumps whenever you shoot, so a good strategy is that whenever he's running towards you, do a jump, shoot, like a short jump, shoot, and then whenever you land, slide, so you'll slide right underneath him. Freeze Man goes under a pretty predictable pattern if you know that, and otherwise he isn't too much of an issue. So once you understand what his pattern is, he's a pretty good place to start out, all things considered. And I'm glad that I'm starting out with him. The Freeze Cracker is a pretty cool weapon, it's multi-directional. You can only have one on screen at a time, but it does split whenever it hits a wall, or the ground, or ceiling, or whatever the heck you want it. It does only do moderate damage, though, so you gotta worry about that. Anyway, with that said, I'm Mr. Game Pie, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.